Okay, peeps, we are back once again. Now we haven't been doing these the dating relationship ones in a bit because we've got some big current events going on. But we're gonna take a break from that. We're gonna get back to reality. Or our personal reality, and get back, helping people solve some problems, right? So we've got some fun wines today. You guys want to guess? Do you guys want to guess what wines we're doing today? You guys want to guess what wines we're doing today? Because we're done Portugal, remember? So, what am I doing? What am I doing? Italian red. Nope, it's not Italy. It's a small country. Okay, small country. It's a one-off because once we do today's, we're done the country. Ooh, Romania. That's good. That's next one. This one, we're doing Bulgaria. Yep, I got some Romanian ones too, but we're doing Bulgaria this time. I would love to do Moldova. I got to get some good stuff. So, guys, I'll give you a little bit of brief background on Bulgaria. Okay, there's only two primary zones. You have the Thracian lowlands and you have the Danubian plain, and we have one from both locations. Now, I'm actually expecting some good things from this. So, my wine expertise, real quick. Father was in the wine industry, actually knighted by the Portuguese for his services to the Portuguese wine industry. And Portuguese wine, wine exports in the United States. And I got certified in WSET, which is basically like having a college degree in wine. It takes about 3 years to get, and it's basically the precursor to gain a master's of wine, which is like a PhD. So I have that, but it's like a fun thing for me. So, I started these Periscopes doing wine, so we're trying to do more of a formal wine school now. So Bulgaria, two main regions, the northern area, which I'll show you here, the Danubian plain, much cooler, which of course would make sense that we're using a Pinot Noir. Thracian highlands, much richer wines produced here, hence the Cabernet Sauvignon, which is the main international varietal that is in Bulgaria. Bulgaria has a couple of local varietals, which I don't have with me. I'm looking here. Mavrud and Pamid. Okay, so if I find some, I'll let you know. But little quick thing about Bulgaria. Obviously, very good place to make wine. It was cultivated under the Roman times, and even during the communist era in the beginning, it was actually doing quite well with its production. You had some pretty high quality wines, and they serviced basically the entire Soviet bloc and even some of the United Kingdom. Now, what happened? Okay, this is a big theme if you're in Eastern Europe, and it's especially important when we get to Hungary later, because Hungary has a very, very, long and Hungarian wines have a high reputation historically, very high reputation. But it happened to Hungary too. It happened to all across the Soviet bloc, which was that you had Gorbachev's anti-liquor policies, anti-alcohol policies in the mid-'80s, and that just completely fucked. It was like almost prohibition level. It just completely fucked over the entire wine industry, and of course vodka too. But wine is important because quality is a huge issue. It just destroyed the quality, and so they've been trying to catch up. I don't have to get through all the little details with you, but basically they've been trying to get it together, because then they had fall of communism, and then they had all sorts of economic issues where some people, not having enough fruit for the grapes, and then kind of being overly aggressive with that, and so then you had lower quality wines. So now we've got some people who have put some investment in, and Bulgaria looks like it has a bright future. However, right now it's still in the early stages. So these wines, I'm fingers crossed on, because in all honesty, they weren't cheap. I mean, I'm not saying that they were expensive. They were like $15. But $15 for a Bulgarian wine is a bit, I mean, that's more than what you get for a lot of Portuguese reds. The Romanian wines we're going to be trying were like half the price. Okay, so let's see this. Let's check out the Pinot Noir. Same estate, by the way, same company, Bulgariana. Hmm. Croatian wine is very good. To be honest, no fruit. Almost no fruit in this. I'm gonna show you the brand. Now it's not that it's almost like the wine is built as a wine is supposed to be built, right? Like the acid to alcohol ratio is pretty balanced. It's a little thin, but you guys know from previous Periscopes I don't mind thin wines. But there's no fruit. It's too dry. There's no fruit. Let's move on to the Cabernet. See how this goes. Well, it's not even that it's dry, really. I mean, it is dry, but the issue is that there's no fruit. Like I can do this again. There's zero expression. It's like I'm drinking wine if I had a cold, right? Like I can feel the texture of the wine. There's nothing wrong with the texture of the wine. It might even be above average. You're not going to take dating advice from me as you're more handsome and wealthy. I wonder if this is satire. Let's see. Let's see if it's true. Are you also gay? Because that seems to be a trend these days. So but drinking this wine, it's as if there is it's as if I had COVID, right? I can't taste anything on it. I can feel that I'm drinking wine. I can't taste anything. So let's try the Cabernet. Maybe the Cabernet will be better because traditionally the northern section, the northern section is the area that is a lot like it's a lot cooler. So Pinot Noir would make sense, but it's not traditionally the best area in Bulgaria for wine. So let's try the next one. Like 10% better, guys. 10% better. It's the same situation. It's the same shit. No flavor. There's a little bit more flavor. It's a little richer. No, no flavor. It's kind of disappointing. It's kind of disappointing. But you know what? I'm happy to support them. I'm happy I tried it because I'm always curious about these areas because they can produce good wine and probably they will in 10 years. But guys, if you're asking me about Bulgarian wine right now, my answer is do not drink. Not yet. I mean, it just does not seem ready yet. You can maybe try a different brand, a vineyard in Moldova. Maybe I can get a good price. Honestly, Romeo, I'm an irredentist. So I believe that Moldova isn't a country and should rejoin Romania. So, we'll see. We'll see. So maybe it'll be a Romanian vineyard. All right, guys. Let me bring up the questions here. Let's get to some of these questions. Yeah, disappointing with this wine. Disappointing. I mean, it's not offensive, which is good, and it's not sweet, which is good, but just a little, just a little disappointing. Just a little disappointing. All right. We are about good to go here. We're about good to go here. All right. So first question. I have a question for the next dating Periscope. It's just what to do when you hit a snag in your dating life when you are bettering your life, but seem to be running into the same problems with women as far as keeping them around. Is it time just to fully focus on career and let things be as is? Okay, let me try to parse this. So when you hit a snag in your dating life, is it hold on a second. This is a difficult one to guys, I don't when people send me questions, I just take them and I put them in and I don't read them because I don't have time to read them. So I have to sometimes if you're sending questions, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. I don't want to dissuade anybody. But if you're sending questions, please try to write in a way that's because I have to now figure this out. So when you are actually bettering your life, but seem to be running into some problems with women as far as keeping them around. So basically the question here is when you hit a snag in your dating life, should you go back to just bettering your life? Should you go back to just bettering your life, or should you, rather than, if you're having problems keeping them around, is that the issue? Now, this is like one of those things that you just have to look at the context of the situation. Some people feel like they need to, some people feel like they need to be like culty bra, right? They need to feel like they gotta, they gotta have that 9% ab definition, and they gotta, get the multiple digits, right? They gotta get the multiple digits. Some people really feel like they gotta max out their pre-selection, at least ostensibly, because yeah, exactly, hitting a snag, call up culty bra for a quick fix. That's another option. That's another option. Hey, no judgment here. No judgment. We don't care that he's gay. It's just about the fact that he lies about it, right? Pretends he's not. So, okay. So, if you are, I think this is really about dealing with what you, making sure you're not like in a low position in any area. Okay, everybody's going to have areas that they have advantages in, advantages in, and everybody's going to have areas where they're, either not there yet, or they need more time to get there. So if you are, for instance, very out of shape, then your focus should be gain in shape before you focus on women. If you are completely fucking poor, now, if you're trying to hook up with girls, money doesn't actually matter that much. But if you want to have something more meaningful in your, relationships, or, dating life, then you should focus on your career. And frankly, even if you don't, I mean, I'm not opposed to, like, you're a young guy, you don't have your career. Um, yeah, you can ask questions, but let me finish this question first. It's all right that you've been mentioning it, but I'm trying to keep focus on this one to answer this one. So basically, you want to make sure that you're not so far down, so far depleted in other areas of your life. What it sounds like here is that this guy is trying to escape from his dating problem, however, because he's saying, well, let's just fully focus on career and let things be as they are, and then we'll come back to it. Then we're going to, and then maybe it'll get fixed. That doesn't happen, okay, guys? You don't fix your problems with women when you sort out your career. You don't fix your problems with women when you do that. You do make it easier for women to come into your life and for you to hold on to women, but it doesn't help you to attract women. It doesn't create, desire in any meaningful sense. Career and finances are comfort traits. Comfort traits are very important in attraction, but they're not. They don't create desire. So if you're having a hard time keeping women around, okay, you know, I guess I have to be fair, I have to figure out why. Like, is there some sort of personality aspect here? Are you not, how do I put this? Like, are you getting needy and that's why they're leaving? Or if they're leaving because you're poor, then that's a different story. Then maybe, yeah, get your career in line. So this is the thing with these questions. I'm all about context. I don't give blanket answers to questions, because you just can't do it. You can't give a good answer to anybody when there's no context to it, right? I have to know this person's life. So, for these questions, definitely go into more detail. All right, I'll answer the guy in the thread here. So let's see here. What do I think about Robert Greene books? Robert Greene's an ENTP, and you know, obviously I'm an ENTP, so I understand his mind a lot. I'm not a fan of his books, and here's why. I don't like theory. I don't like theory. I think theory is very often it's what the academic does to avoid real world experience. Robert Greene's best book is The 50th Law, by far. 50th Law is a phenomenal book, but it's a phenomenal book because it's more of like a biography with lessons taken away, principles practically applied to somebody's life. Whereas, like, you see people, you have, like, a limitable man, right? It's like, I'm Machiavellian. I'm a Machiavellian genius. It's like, actually, well, I'm, I haven't had any beef with limitable, and I don't hit people unless they hit me. But let's just say that you can LARP a lot with a lot of Robert Greene's maxims, and many of Robert Greene's maxims are contradictory, which does not mean that they're bad. It just means that they're kind of pointless as maxims like this because they have context to them. The context of the use matters. So when you have one maxim, which is like when the enemy goes after you, hit them hard, hit them directly. And then you have another maxim that's like when the enemy attacks you, destroy them in the shadows. It's like, well, there's a context to when you would do one or the other, right? Just so um so let's see here. Yeah, so you can definitely ask a question. All right. Well, hold on. Let me get to some of these other things. You guys got a lot of good questions in here. This is awesome. But I want to I'll come back to these. I have these people. They've submitted their questions beforehand, so I don't want to get too sidetracked. But we don't have too many today, so we're going to be able to get to every question in the list. I promise. We're going to hit every question. Pat, I recently discovered my girlfriend has slept with two guys prior to me, and one of them raped her. I can't stop thinking about leaving her. She screws up a lot too, but she's too good to me. She's light. She's the most goodly woman I've ever met. What should I do? I feel like she's a really good person who has low self esteem and bad decision making made her do a lot of mistakes. So, this is a tough one. Again, there's some details here. She was raped. How did it happen? When we say rape, was this something that it sounds like she's been with two guys prior to you, which, in all honesty, guys, I know people don't like to hear this. It's like not a ton. It's not a ton today. It's not really a lot at all. Doesn't really give off slut vibes unless she's like 18 years old, maybe. So, um, a lot of this, like you thinking about leaving her, this is more about you. It's more about you. Not that I'm saying that you should just suck it up and deal with it. I'm not saying like man up but I think it's important to introspect and to ask yourself, there's a part of you that feels like she's been spoiled from the experience. Maybe even more so than her just simply sleeping with another guy, that she's been the sort of damaged individual. And this is a very common, reaction guys have when a woman's raped, right? When they're with a woman who's been raped. Happens to guys sometimes. I mean, can you imagine if you're in a relationship with a girl and she's raped in the middle of the relationship with you guys, right? That's it sucks that it's so complicated that we have our emotions and we have our biology and how they cross section each other here. It's really like my big question here is about how you have to introspect and you have to deal with your own shit on this. But the other part of this is it sounds like she's also giving a lot to get. You say she's such a good woman. Like, let's forget about the rape for a second because I almost feel like the rape is a little bit of a distraction. It's a little bit of a distraction because if this woman had been raped, but she was more kind of confident and had owned it, it sounds like the rape actually the big issue about the rape is yes, it's affecting you and you have your own stuff to deal with, but it also sounds like she's still dealing with the trauma from that herself, with her low self esteem, as you said, and that she's doing a very classic girl game thing where she is just giving and trying to be perfect, and you feel guilty. You feel like you can't leave her because she's so good. And my big question with this stuff is how much of this of you wanting to leave this girlfriend is that you just found out that she was with two guys before you and that one of them raped her versus what was going on beforehand and that this is elevating it a bit further, right? I would love to know that. I don't really give a fuck if she's a really good person. What I care about is why we are and are not drawn to somebody. I mean, it does matter that she's a good person, but the point is you can't like blackmail yourself. You can't like force yourself to want to be with somebody. So if you feel like she's giving to get and there were a lot of problems beforehand, it sounds like the rape thing is just sort of like it adds an extra variable that's just going to push you off and that the rape isn't necessarily the biggest thing. Because if she was it just feels like I'm just when I'm feeling this question, I'm feeling a lot of other things going on here besides for the rape. It just seems like this is the vehicle where the attacks are going because other things that she's been doing, you just can't. Too difficult to attack, right? Because she's been perfect. I don't like girl. I mean, I like girl game. I respect it. You know, there's a game, people play it. But anyway, so next question. It's about a woman. I had a girlfriend last year. Well, I hope it's about a woman, right? Again, this isn't Colty's Periscope. It's about a woman. I had a girlfriend from last year till January this year. We had an intense short fling of about 5 months. I liked her and had strong feelings for her, but something was off. So after 5 months, I broke up. After 4 months, we had coffee and spoke to each other. It was good, and I still had feelings for her and could sense she had the same for me. But she mentioned she had a boyfriend by then, 1.5 months after I dumped her, and she was happy with him. But her body language was still very sexual towards me. I told her I missed her, but said she was but said she was happy with him. So this is when I suddenly felt my ego was bruised and I started longing for her and checking her Instagram every day. She suddenly starts posting a lot of pictures and I love him so much pictures and it somewhat hurt me. Now I am slowly trying to forget her and move on, but I just can't figure out why I still think of her. Although I dumped her and still think it's the right decision, completely forgetting her takes me a long time. Okay, a lot of things here, a lot to unpack. A lot of fun stuff here though. Okay. So, you said something was off. What's all right? I'm going to tell you something I tell my clients. A lot of people, what their approach to these things is to try to solve the problem, to try to get over them, to try to figure these things out. I don't care about that. Like somebody could have like some cheating, you know, slut ex-girlfriends and they still have all these feelings for her. And if they were really obsessive and adamant about seeing her again, I'm like, go ahead, see her again. Go ahead, date her. You're gonna get fucked over. You're gonna get fucked over. You're gonna get, ruined. But and I'll advise different courses of action. But if this is what they're gonna do and that's what they want to do, I let them do it. The sort of analogy I use is, if they want to get in the quicksand, I'm just gonna wrap a rope around them and let them go in, because that's how people learn. So when you have all this sort of interesting dissonance around her, I think it's really important to explore that, to understand, like to really think about why, you had all these strong feelings for her, but then you felt like you wanted to get away from her. But then when you see her with somebody else, that you care all of a sudden, all over again. Okay, because this is like very much the game. It's the anxious attachment dynamic, right? Anxious avoidant, anxious attachment dynamic. When she's going after you, you're probably avoidant, right? And she's going after you and she wants you. And so even though you like that, you don't want to get too close. So you cut off, you push her away. But then when she's gone, then you feel, that you want to be with somebody, and then she kind of comes back into the picture and then you miss her. Now, I also want to throw out here, not that I am encouraging you to go towards her, not that I'm encouraging you to get involved, but you know, you could sense that she had feelings for you, probably true. But what she's doing with this boyfriend, she probably doesn't really like the boyfriend that much. She's used the boyfriend as a rebound, and right now she's using the boyfriend to jab the knife in. Really good heuristic, guys. Really good heuristic is that if you ever see a girl posting tons of pictures like I love him so much and showing all these pictures with her, boyfriend, you know that relationship's not in good shape. You know it's not in good shape because, just like those of you who watch the COVID cabal stuff, right? When you're being so adamant about saying something, you're trying to fix dissonance. So these women will like talk about just how amazing their boyfriends are and they'll share it all the time and how much they love him. He's the best thing ever. They're trying to tell themselves that, and they're trying to get reinforcement from other people that, hey, I actually really like this person, right? Oh, see, I like him. Everybody else, likes that I like him. So therefore I like him. It's all just trying to persuade yourself. happy relationships don't really post that much. I'm not saying that like a happy relationship can't post some pictures, but you have a picture like every couple of weeks to every couple of months. Like that's normal, that's healthy. If it's like a couple pictures a week, if it's like a picture every week even. I mean, especially with these kind of captions, like this is desperation posting. So I just want you to understand, not that I'm trying to encourage you to go back at her, but just to understand some tactical awareness here. This like I love him so much and posting pictures right after you're meeting with him, it's not a fucking coincidence. She's trying to jab the knife into you. She's trying to make you feel some pain from this, but it doesn't necessarily mean that she's really interested in him. She's just using him to get back at you because you broke up with her. So, I would just mute her on social media, or really get developed. I wouldn't block her necessarily because that'll give her the satisfaction. If you want to play the game, of course. I mean, I'm all about leaving the game, but I also know how to play it. The big thing here would be for you to counter post big stuff about yourself, right? Cool things you're doing. If you went and posted, if you stop looking at her shit and you start to post cool things about yourself, she's going to see that because, you know, just like other certain people who get very obsessed about their pictures of you, they're thinking about you, right? They're thinking about you all the time. So you post pictures about cool stuff you're doing, and she's going to and she's going to be watching that stuff. And that's going to frankly undermine her relationship further. And she's likely to somehow find her way back into your orbit. That's just, but, you probably made the right decision to dump her. So that's tactical advice, not strategic advice. Next question. Please, I need advice. Oh, let me get into this. Please, I need advice. I want to get back with my ex, although she's acting cold towards me. And I think she's in a new relationship. We broke up 3 weeks ago. I love her and I want her back. Guys, this is a short one. It's a short one. Block that bitch. Block that bitch. You are not going to get back with her right now. This is a situation where the desire is completely non-existent. It's gone. And every single time you want to try to, message her or try to make things happen, kills it further. Okay? So you just have to accept the fact that she's in a new relationship and you broke up, and that you broke up for a reason, right? Don't try to fix this relationship. Don't try to fix it. Take the lesson from it. What did you do that fuck it up? And what did she do to fuck it up too? What kind of girl was she? What sort of things can you learn from this experience and apply that to something else? You can pine after her, of course, if you want to, but you will just humiliate yourself. There's just no way you are going to get back into this by trying to get her back. Last little thing here. It's okay to feel pain. It's okay to feel like shit. Allow yourself to feel like shit. Just because you feel like shit, people get stuck in this stuff because they won't allow themselves to be like, you know what, I feel like shit. I miss her. I want her back. It's okay that I feel this way. It's okay I feel this way. It doesn't mean I have to act on this. It's okay that I feel this way. It's two very different things. So yeah, don't pine after her, dude. Don't pine after her. It's time to move on. Block her. Go through the grieving process. It might take you a while, but that's what you gotta do. You gotta do it for yourself. What is the right action to handle when you meet a girl and you hit it off, yet she pulls away to work on herself? Is there a proper time frame to let her honor the work for herself, which will make the relationship better in the long run? Or do you walk away and move on? So the question here is kind of self-answered. When a girl is not ready to be with you because she has to work on herself, you just completely honor the timing, and there's no like strict answer to this, but you're done. I mean, you walk away and move on, and maybe she comes back into the picture, but you do not wait for a girl to get her time frame together for two reasons. One, you have no fucking idea how long that's going to be. That could be forever. That could be years. the whole time, the whole work on herself thing could be bullshit because it's really not about that so much as it is that she doesn't feel like she wants to be with you. That's legitimate. That's legitimate. Okay. Like she might have some. I want to make it clear also. She might have some chemistry. There might be some flirty banter here, but we're not talking about like that doesn't mean that maybe it's good enough for her to be in a relationship or to want to seriously date you. Okay. And if she's not in a hookup phase, then she's not gonna. That's it. That's why she's working on herself. All right. Now, all this said, if you do walk away and move on, sometimes these women come back into the picture. One thing that this is very 5D, and guys, on my email list tomorrow, if you guys are not subscribed, I'm just letting you know ahead of time. patstedman.com/opt-in. I'm talking about like 3D, 4D, 5D dating. Okay, I'm talking about 3D, 4D, 5D relationships. I'm talking about what it looks like, and one of the big aspects, a little teaser here, is serendipity. Okay, you have to trust to a certain extent when you're going into 5D shit. You have to trust in the fact that somebody's going to come back to you in some way or another. You can't try to control the outcome. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't happen. So, you know, move on. And maybe she comes back. You can trust in that. All right. 2 more questions. Pat, question for your scope today. I have been dating a girl for about a year now. She's in love with me. However, even after a year, I can't pinpoint my feelings for her. I like her a lot, and on paper, she's pretty much perfect and treats me extremely well. But I don't get those same feelings that I used to get back in college. Those days, I fell in love much quicker, though it resulted in far more turbulent relationships. How can I determine whether this is a sign of maturity or if something else is missing? Reason I ask is because this has happened several times over the last few years, and I typically just walk away before I end up hurting someone. Is it normal to avoid such commitments? For what it's worth, I'm 27. It's funny. I have a client very similar to this. Um, so I'll just give you a little bit of a broad, picture perspective here. One of the big red flags for me when I have these kind of questions is on paper she's pretty much perfect, right? That's a big red flag for me because that's not how attraction really works. You don't get drawn to people who have sort of resume criteria, even if the resume is designed for a woman. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. Those things are things that allow you to rationalize your emotional commitment to somebody. Those are things that allow you to say, hey, maybe my attraction for this person is good. Now, some very trad people disagree, and they think that, we should basically pick people together based on these structures. Um, Personally, I don't. I think that the issue with romantic dating is that romantic dating is done by low consciousness people. And they say they want romance, but what they really want is a trauma bond. And that's not the same thing, right? Trauma bonds are not the way to have relationship success. But I've seen plenty of arranged relationships, and they function, but I would not say that they function at a high level. And guys, I'm all about function at a high level. I want high level relationships. I want high level dating. I don't want like amateur shit. I don't want basic stuff. I don't want to settle. People want to settle. Okay. So pulling back to this question here, the fact that you don't get those same feelings that you got in college, that's a sign of maturity. It is a sign of maturity because those feelings are fantasy projections that you put on people. When you meet a girl who you really like and you're a mature individual, you're going to feel like you want to spend time with them. It feels very natural to be with them. It feels good. It's not this sort of like, oh my God, this person's completing me. Oh my God, I can't live without this person. It's crazy. I just can't get my hands off of them. It's not like that. It's not like that. There's just like a sense that, man, I'm really happy I found this person. I'm really happy I'm with this person. Like I want to be with this person. Like that's it. It's very wholesome. Doesn't mean that there's not plenty of sexual desire, but it's not this sort of like imagined thing. Okay, this is somebody who you know and you're drawn towards, and it's good, and etc. Okay, so it's maturity. My main question here is that, it's not even necessarily so much of a question. Seems to me that this guy is dating the same girls that he used to date in college, and he never grew into a different archetype, a more integrated kind of woman. He's dating these same women, and it's like going through the motions because they're perfect, but then he has no desire for them. And yeah, it's a sign that you've grown up and that you need to date a different kind of woman who's going to challenge you on a different level. So maybe you're in the wrong circles, right? Maybe you've kind of stagnated out of your environment and you need to search a bit elsewhere. Maybe you need to find a wild woman, right? They're out there. They're out there. So a little bit of advice on that one. All right, last question before I hit the questions in the thread here, because we got some good questions in the thread. And by the way, guys, just making a comment about the Cabernet. There's a little bit of jammy fruit, just a little bit. It's the same. It's the same thing, though. I mean, my verdict stands on the wine. It's totally drinkable. It's light. It's no big deal. Structured well, just no fruit. What are you gonna do? No flavor. All right, the big boy here. My girlfriend is pregnant with my first child. I am unmarried, quite young, and currently ill prepared to lead a family. My life lacks significant male role models. Any guidance you could provide me with would be a blessing. We have been dating for 10 months. We will be engaged by Thanksgiving, given circumstances. In all likelihood, we would have married I would have married her within a couple of years anyway. It's not the wrong girl, but certainly sooner than we had intended. We just graduated from college. I will be going to a top 6 law school next fall, to be determined which one. She will now follow me along with our infant. We are scared but excited and optimistic. Both come from fairly wealthy families. We will be okay. But what I'm struggling with is my current position. We'll be set in only a few years, but for right now, it will be difficult for me to call the shots and have the independence to lead the way I want. And how to deal with the sudden switch in the dynamic of the relationship. I don't need logistical advice. I have people in my life hammering me with that hourly by now. I want energetic and spiritual advice. You are brimming with enlightened energy these days. It's rare to find people who can entertain some breakthroughs we make that are hard to even put in the words. Okay. So, this is a awesome question. I love these questions from, I love all questions. I love all questions, but it's always cool to get questions from high achievers like this. So, there's an assumption here, and there's some logical aspects to it that are true, but I want to probe on it a bit. For right now, it will be difficult for me to call the shots and have the independence to lead the way I want. Why? Why is that the case? Why is that the case? Now, I get it in the sense that, well, you're not making money, you're going to law school. And when a woman has a child, she becomes, it's a massive step of maturity for a woman. So a woman who has a child suddenly is a lot more demanding because she's looking for a guy who's going to be able to help her carry that burden. The demands of leadership go up, which is one of the reasons why, a lot of people will say single moms are, rough business to date, which I think is a complicated topic. But point being here is that moms have a lot of stress and a lot of burdens, and so they can lose some of that super super submissive femininity, especially if the guy they're with has to take another step up. So I get the question, I understand the context around that, I understand why it was formulated. But here's the thing, it's not as if she has things figured out. You're going to a top 6 law school, right? You are going to be very successful. Can be very successful. You come from a good family, so the tuition issues with the law school, while I'm not saying they're going to be cheap, it's not cheap, but you're going to be fine, right? You said that yourself. No logistical issues here. Money's not going to sink you guys. So if money's not going to sink you guys, then the only reason that she would stop trusting you, so to speak, and challenge you and you wouldn't be able to lead is because you don't have a vision for the family. And I think that the problem here is that this has blindsided you. It wasn't according to plan. And now you feel like you kind of have to just figure it out. And it's okay to figure it out a little bit. It's okay. Everybody's trying to figure things out. It's not that this is that you have to have everything perfect, but what's going to make her lose trust in you? What's going to make her give you issues with calling the shots is that there's a sense that you are off the path, that you're drifting, and that could happen in school, right? You might find in school that you feel like an urge to fuck around. And law school's not like undergraduate, there's not the same sort of scene, but there's a scene, and maybe you feel drawn to different stuff, and maybe those are the things that are going to throw you off. But if you're like, no, I'm with this girl, here's our vision for the family, here's how I'm going to do it, right? And I love you and I'm going to spend time with you. You do that stuff and she feels that energy from you, right? She feels that determination. Then you're good, man. You're good. And the logistical stuff doesn't matter. We are so much in a culture right now where everybody's got to get it figured out ahead of time. Everyone's got to have everything pre-planned. And, you got to check the right boxes. You go to a good school, and then after the good school, maybe you go to the good graduate school, then you get the good job, and then, then you can get married because that's the responsible thing to do. But you know what? Most couples throughout history just fucking did it. Okay, they fell in love, they got married young, they had kids. Maybe the guy had a little bit of a head start in his career, maybe a little bit, but not a big one. Whole big career ahead of him. And he was going towards that, and they were young and they had some struggles and they were trying to do it. And I'm not saying that this is a goal that people should have necessarily, but let's not pretend there isn't some sort of romantic aspect to it and that there aren't benefits. If you can get through this period, if you can lead through this, you'll lead her forever. So, a lot of guys want to wait till they have a really big head start. They want to wait till they have a really big head start and everything, that they've got all their ducks in a row. You don't have that. But that's okay, because you can deal with it. You can handle it. You just have to believe that you can handle it. And she's looking to you to believe that, right? You have the benefit of the doubt right now because she would not be with you, and she would not be excited to be with you, and she would not be getting married to you unless she believed that you were a man who could take this to the next level. Like you said, she's the right girl. So don't second guess yourself. You got this, brother. You got it. You got it. It's just that you're playing the game a little bit more on hard, and you will be harder to beat in the end as a result. She doesn't have anybody else she's comparing it to right now. She wants you to be a leader. She doesn't care about the fact that you're in law school. It's unexpected for all of you. You're going to crush it. You're going to do a great job. All right, let's check out some of these questions below. Let's see here. How do you get desire back in a marriage after 2 decades and get out of routine? So, again, specifics here, but generally speaking, if you want to get desire, you need to do things that are going to create desire, which would be without sacrificing comfort, by the way, which would be spending more time outside the house, friends, working out more, doing more things for yourself, basically like pulling back some attention from her. And if you've been doing a lot of the work around the house, if you've been doing everything, I'm not saying drop off on everything all of a sudden, but to put up some boundaries and say, no, I'm actually going to meet some friends tonight. She's like, well, you didn't clean up this. It's like, yeah, well, you can clean it up. Like doing things that you want to do for yourself. The big thing though is to not try to be combative. It's just simply to withhold a bit, to go focus on yourself. That's the best thing that the even basic red pill people get. Where they kind of lose the script a bit is when they emphasize dread game, like a very overt dread game, because that's when you really demolish comfort and you can create a very unhealthy marriage dynamic. So a lot of times when guys don't have desire in a relationship, it's because they just dropped their boundaries, right? They either fell off the wagon or they drop their boundaries. And usually the two are the same thing, because guys drop their boundaries when they fall off the wagon because they want to try to people please to make sure people don't give a fuck that they fell off the wagon. Okay? If you're a leader, if you're doing things, you're taking action, and your woman criticizes you and says, "Well, you didn't do this," she can feel your response is like I'm not saying to say this, but it's like fuck you, like fuck off. It's like kind of like fuck off, like you're full of shit. I'm not saying say that. I'm just saying that that's the energy that you give off. Her shit test falls apart instantly because it's out of alignment. It's not congruent with the truth. Whereas a guy who falls off the wagon, girl shit test him, he knows and she knows that he's full of shit. And so what he usually tries to do is appease. And that's how the gradual process of becoming like a nice guy occurs. And of course, that actually occurs with your mother for the most part. And then you just bring that into your relationship with a woman. But you have to see how it came into play in your relationship to break that pattern. Can you explain more about hypergamy when it comes to 3D, 5D consciousness? In short, hypergamy matters a lot less in 5D consciousness because when you're 5D, you've basically grounded yourself in a much deeper awareness of yourself and what you want. Hypergamy is a very 3D dynamic. I've talked about this like it's biological attraction, which it is. Everybody has, by the way, 3D, 4D, 5D impulses. Okay, it's not to say that others don't exist, but at the same time, 5D consciousness, it's women who are 5D don't think in terms of hypergamy to nearly the same degree. Just like a guy who's in 5D is not going to be obsessed with fucking a very young girl who's hot and super fertile. He's going to, not that he's not going to want that, not that he's not going to be attracted to it, but there's other variables of consciousness and awareness that are going to come into the picture. So yeah, that's basically it. What do you think of a woman who dated you 2 years ago and contacts you out of nowhere? What do you think? She wants to fuck, right? What do you think? She's interested. I'm not saying necessarily she wants to fuck, but I mean she's interested. She's interested. Like that doesn't happen. You're on her mind. Um, maybe it's just say something nice, but you're on her mind. Like she's interested. Maybe she just wants attention, but she's interested in your attention, in your attention. Why do all women believe they were raped? Um, so I don't know that all women do believe they were raped, but I do understand what you're saying here that um, that many do. Um, I mean, but you know why? There's a program thing. It's that it's regret is not rape, but they've been kind of told that if they regret a sexual experience, they put themselves in a bad situation. Then if they don't feel good about it afterwards, then they can regret it. And if they regret it, then it was rape. Okay, and it's just like, look, I am not telling you to be naive about these things. You have to be aware of it. Look, you guys have been following me on Twitter. You've been seeing the stuff I've been talking about. Okay, I'm going to be talking about it more in this context, more and more and more. I have said this before, though. Maybe I phrased it differently, but I've said this before. I don't worry about any of that stuff. I don't worry about it. And do you know why I don't worry about it? Do you guys know why I don't worry about a woman's false sexual assault charges or anything? I don't worry about it because my discernment at this point is so acute that I know when somebody has massive issues and could flip. I can see that they're a tinderbox waiting to explode. And so a girl who might be interested but has all sorts of issues, I know to get away from her, to separate myself from her, to not be around her. Now, I'm not dating at all, but if I was single and I was out dating women, I could tell this very quickly because I have more of a 5D awareness of a woman's energy frequency. You know, I get questions. This is a great example of energy, right? Someone asks a question, and I can tell they can ask literally the same question, more or less, with very minimal phrasing difference. But I can tell the difference between a guy who's asking in good faith and a guy who's not. A guy who's asking with a genuine desire to learn and a guy who's lazy. I can feel that out very quickly. And so it's easy to do that with women too. So women who believe in all this kind of rape culture stuff, and women do get raped. I mean, I think it's important for guys to understand the female experience, that there are guys out there who do take advantage of women, and women have experienced it. And we can't just dismiss the entire thing and say this stuff doesn't happen, it's all fake. It's two things that are both real. They're both real. Women have been making false rape accusations because they're fucked up because of culture and because of all sorts of drugs and stuff that they're taking. But, you know, some women who have been raped, it's legit. It's legit. I mean, like, there are some awkward, I mean, bad shit can happen out there. Bad shit can happen. So, and man, about that question, no worries, no worries. It's not a big deal. Um, you know, I'll get to this faster. We're gonna have dating relationship periscopes every week. So, all right, let's keep doing this stuff. Unless you feel like I got it for you. Yeah, can't stop thinking about her. Days go by, then weeks pop, then she back, and I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, don't pine, move on. Some of you guys talk to one woman at a time. LOL, maybe that's my problem. Yeah, talk to a lot of women. You know, it's a different sitch. All right, let's keep going down here. Going down, going down, going down. We got a lot of questions here. 31, married for 3 years. I'm excelling. She's getting fat. No kids. Cut the cord. Well, I would not cut the cord immediately. However, you are on a trajectory to cut the cord. I don't think that, it sounds to me it's like you're excelling, she's getting fat. Where's the communication here? Have you told her, "Hey, look, I'm not attracted to you anymore, and this we're in a bad trajectory on this marriage." And she's like, "Well, what do you mean? What's wrong? Blah blah." It's like you've been getting out of shape. You haven't been pulling your weight, or been pulling a little bit too much weight in the relationship. When I hear this stuff, and I'm using you as an example here because it's very common, very very common. Like, we're pissed off at the woman because she's not pulling her weight and she's not doing shit in their relationship. She's not matching you in your level. But we don't communicate that to them. We don't give them the gift of our masculine truth. We don't tell them, "Hey, look, you're not taking care of yourself. What's going on?" Try to get to the heart of the emotional issue. What's happening here? If she makes excuses, she doesn't care, then sure, you can divorce her, right? But maybe there's an emotional thing here. She has low self-esteem. You know, you married this woman, talk to her about it, but also be firm about sort of, look, like, I'm not gonna just, you're not gonna guilt trip me into staying with you. Like, I'm here to support you if you want. If you're gonna try to improve yourself, I'll like support you through that process because we made a pact to each other, right? We made a commitment. But if you're gonna be a fat fuck and not do anything, and you're gonna give up, and you're gonna completely ignore the truth, then see you later. Which is why when I have tried people say, well, I don't believe in divorce under any circumstances. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, I understand. I think divorce is way too common, and I think we can maybe we've made it way too easy. Like, maybe no fault's not the right path here, but we gotta give people more truth in our relationships. We can't just sneak out. We can't just leave. If we're given the truth, different story. If we're being very honest and direct about what we want, about and trying to get to the heart of the problem for them and they don't care, then different story. Romeo is real wine. I love this. I love the change, the name change. 10 months with a kid. What I miss here? 10 months with a kid. I miss some stuff. All right, I'm trying to find some things. You think it's a red flag for a girl to have mostly guy friends? If so, why? It is a red flag. Actually, it's a red flag. And it's a red flag for two reasons, okay? Two different reasons. And they may not be present in the same girl. They could be different reasons. The big red flag is that a girl who has mostly guy friends is a girl who doesn't have girlfriends. Why would a girl not have girlfriends? Why would girls not want to spend time with this girl? Why does she hang out with guys? Very often, you know, like I said, there's two pathways here, but one of the pathways is she's a slut and women don't trust her. Women don't want to be around her. Women don't trust her around their men. And she's a homewrecker and she seeks the validation of men. And so she throws all of her validation towards men and she's like, fuck other women. She doesn't care about other women, right? It's basically the version of the male nice guy who's like, fuck other guys, you're too good for him. Which I'm not saying there aren't cases where the woman's better for the guy. I mean, I've told women this before. I'm very objective. I've told women also that they fucked up big time. But the point here is that the nice guy just tells the girl what she wants to hear because he wants to be the one who's ingratiated. And the nice guy girl who's a slut, right? The slut is the nice guy girl. That's why you have the friend zone and the fuck zone. Okay? Fuck zone is what nice guy girls get into. Thanks for that heart. Appreciate it. So basically what you have here is that those girls tend to be mistrusted by other women, and that's why they only have guy friends. And guys don't mind because she'll hook up with the guys, or she'll validate the guys, or she's fun, she's a party girl, right? Okay. The guys will accept her because if she's just somewhat attractive and she gives them validation, they'll take that. They might take the occasional BJ, right? Because she's probably the kind of girl who might decide one night she got drunk and decided to just fuck. Because, we're friends, right? Now, the other kind of girl who's like that may not be a slut, but she has guy friends because she's afraid of getting close to the guys. She's afraid of, how do I put this? She collects guy friends. She usually doesn't have a boyfriend. She collects guy friends because that allows her to avoid having to face her own intimacy issues. Now, the slut has those same problems, but she's more external about it. So really the issue here is externalizing versus internalizing. The slut externalizes her, intimacy issues, and the other girl, I don't have a good name for her. She's like, the friend, right? She internalizes. So she'll be cool, part of the guys. Guys like her. Guys will very often have crushes on her in that group, but she won't let them get close. She won't give in to them, right? It's not to say she won't hook up with a guy, but she'll only hook up with a guy if there's no chance that she can get close to that person. So pretty much all of her hookups are going to be like one night stands, and she's going to have a lot of regular guy friends who she keeps as orbiters who fulfill her emotional needs. So those are why those are red flags. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't break through that. It just means that you have to deal with the intimacy issue. They have to be willing to get vulnerable and open up. I'm just looking for a girl I can take the Christmas onesies pick to end up on Coldy Bra's feed, man. No comment, man. No comment. I said this before. I wish I had better enemies, but the reality is that, like, I've gotten people have told me, people have tried to start beef between me and like the Tates for whatever reason. The Tates are very different than me. But like I have nothing against the Tate brothers. The Tate brothers are authentic. They're completely authentic. They're real. Guys, I have my intuition, I have my intel. I know they're real. I know they live the life that they say they live. There's no bullshit in that. It may not be the life that I've chosen, but I know they're not frauds. I know they're not faking it. I respect them. I respect them. I respect men who are on different paths. And guess what? The Tates respect me. They don't fuck around with me. They don't pick fights with me. The only people who pick fights with me are people who don't like their lives. People who are miserable. They pick fights with me. Like whatever. Like it's and that's why it's easy to pick them apart because anybody who's going to pick a fight with me has some fucking issues because they wouldn't do it otherwise. Because I don't go out of my way to create drama. I don't do that. If I did that, I'd have an issue myself. I'd be triggered by their lifestyle. Let's keep going down here. Is Arizona called yet? Yeah, right. Could professional pictures significantly help my dating profile? The girls I match with are two Uggs. Well, professional photos could help. It depends like how, boring they are, honestly. And this is a problem. Like what you really want is you want to have artistic photos. I don't mean like overly artistic. I mean photos that like you like if you're doing this ideally for your dating profile. I'm not saying to revolve your life around this by any means, but if you're doing this ideally, you're going to want to have your dating profile reflects. You want it to reflect like you're doing cool shit. I wrote a long post on this. You want the pictures to be like beautiful of places you've gone to. You want to be taking pictures of doing cool shit. Okay? If you're taking pictures of doing cool shit and you're posting it, especially posting on Instagram and using that for your dating app, like really, the way it's going with dating apps is you're going to be at a bigger and bigger disadvantage if you don't have a good Instagram. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's the truth. There's so much more power in having that because girls not only see more pictures of you than they can on their dating profile, but they feel more trust. They feel like they know you better. You get a much higher response rate. It increases desire and comfort. It gives you all the things you want to have on a profile that the profile doesn't allow you to add in at this point, either directly or indirectly. Because, like, let's be real, in 2020, you can't do a long OkCupid profile if you're even fucking using OkCupid these days. So I'm okay with professional photos, and you should do it maybe if you don't have any photos. But I've been very frustrated with seeing what they produce. They produce things that are like passport photos or like kind of very, they just don't look natural. And a girl who has a higher consciousness is going to feel that out very quickly. So, um, why do they start? Why do they start beef? These people. Look, I hate to connect this stuff, but like Trump. These people hate Trump. They accuse Trump of doing all these things that they do because when you're a traumatized individual, you can't help but act out that trauma, which is actually why Trump is healing the population because Trump is acting as the magnet. I'm actually healing. I mean, I'm offering at least the healing process to Colty Bra and to Rollo because I tell them who they are. And so when I tell them who they are, they can either intensify their attacks, which only increases their own pain because it's easy to, like, they're basically running into a knife that's like being hung out for them, or they have to be like, you know what, maybe Pat's right, and I have to deal with it. They are basically women who won't accept the truth about themselves. They won't accept the truth about themselves. So they start beef. It's an unconscious thing. It's an impulsive thing. Whenever this is a really good thing, though. I mean, we all have our pieces. Okay, whenever somebody like I am like very very well insulated against this stuff because I've been dealing with my shit. And so even when there's certain areas like I'm not perfect. There are certain areas that are a little bit more vulnerable. People who are smart, they could figure these things out, but they can't figure them out, which is funny because if you the way to look about growth, right, is that if and I talked about this on my podcast the other day with Will Spencer. You can see the world clearly if you've cleaned off your window. And so most people like pretend that they have an accurate view of the world where when their like windshield is just covered in filth. And that's the deep work. The deep work cleans it off. So like I have a pretty clear windshield. There's still spots that, I can clear out, but the point here is that these people, it's a very unconscious thing for them. They can't help themselves. They they feel it. And whenever you feel triggered by somebody and you feel that urge to attack them, you feel that urge to lash out, they are telling you something about yourself. They're telling you something about yourself. And that's something you can really, really learn, and it'll help you big time in your life, especially with women. So, I won't say when interacting in 5D, will deception be impossible? Let's just say I would say yes. I would actually go so far as to say yes. But the question is, how much are you grounded in 5D? Because, like I said, with the windshield, there's parts that are maybe not in 5D. But people who are in lower dimensions can't fool you. The lower your dimension, the easier it is to fool. A 4D person finds a 3D person easy mark. It's kind of like you've seen this stuff in movies where the person who's very clever and can, manipulate, you have this like very strong kind of thug looking person, and they can, convince them to do their bidding. And that's idealized. That's 4D dominating 3D. But the higher up you are, the bigger the view you have, right? So it's like 3D is ground level, 4D is like you're on a hill, 5D is like you have fucking satellites, satellite imagery of the entire field. It's like very easy to see where to go. So, guys, that's it for today. We're gonna do a day in relationship Periscope next week. Probably 2 COVID cabals each week. We've got a lot of big shit going on here. We've got a fun time ahead. I'll see you guys.